Meantime, transport workers in London have been told to stop using the phrase ladies and gentlemen to address customers. It's part of a drive to make the capital more inclusive and gender neutral. Instead, tannoy announcements will simply say things like, "Good morning, everyone."
Yeah, that's right. But is this a welcomed attempt to promote diversity, or maybe unnecessary to something that wasn't really much of an issue in the first place? We're here to debate just that question. Our campaigner, Mika Minio-Paluello, and Ella Whelan, she's the assistant editor at Spiked Online. Mika, if I can start with you. Now, this is something that was rumbling along last year, actually. It now looks like it's going to happen. Out of all the issues that face transgender people in terms of the discrimination, is hearing a tannoy and referring to people as ladies, gentlemen, men and women, is that really an issue that faces people?
It's definitely not the most important issue, and I can come back to that. But it is something in our day-to-day life. You know, we all take the tube, we take buses, and we regularly get put in these boxes. We get gender policed. It's something where we get told, you must belong. We're going to define you primarily by your gender. You know, they don't say, good morning, older people and younger people, or good morning, energy economists, campaigners and journalists. They say, ladies and gentlemen. Someone like me, who was originally defined as like in that box and then moved over here, doesn't feel so great if you're genderqueer.
But you're still in the box though, aren't you?
Yes, exactly. But some people, including lots of my friends, including a friend of mine who works for TfL, also, she's a woman, she said, feel a bit patronised always being called a lady. It's not just about trans and gender queer, it's also, this is kind of outdated 19th century language. We're London. We're always reinventing ourselves. We need to build a future that works for all of us, and that includes a transport system that doesn't exclude, that serves everyone. For the many, not few.
Ella, is it outdated to refer to people as ladies and gentlemen?
I don't think it's necessarily outdated in the fact that so many people still use it without thinking, actually. It's not like this is something that people are saying with a kind of vision of what they want to put out in their views and gender identity. That's certainly not the case. But I think what's more dangerous, and to me is more worrying than some people feeling, as I think what you're explaining is feeling left out or a bit upset by this, is the forcing of people to stop using certain language, and actually the TfL forcing employees to make what is ostensibly a political decision in this case. You know, TfL isn't just saying, hey, here's a kind of handy suggestion if you want to say hello everyone. They're actually saying that if employees don't use the new language, that there will be potential repercussions, that they call it reminders, that only, you know, you can only imagine what that would be. So that's really bad. That's really worrying. And I think all people can understand that no one wants to be forced to say a certain thing, especially when it's a contentious political issue.
I mean, it does seem quite draconian to ban the use of it. And presumably, do you agree with that?
So I think, let's flip it. Actually, what's happened for the past decades and decades is TfL was telling people, use ladies and gentlemen. So actually what TfL are doing right now is they're not imposing a new thing. They're saying, well, instead of giving you this script, we're going to give you a different script so that none of you, including TfL staff, who've had to say ladies and gentlemen, who felt a bit uncomfortable. But I totally agree. We need to look at what are the issues that workers and the trade unions are fighting for. And actually, they've been saying, yeah, let's change this. And also, let's think about pay. Let's think about safety. All these stations where there aren't any staff or being overstretched, overcrowded, the southern train lines. Let's think about what are the trade unions organising on and support them, because ultimately that's about creating a safer public transport system for all of us. And the next time there's a strike on Southern or in London, then we should all remember they're trying to create a public transport system that works for queer people like me, for trans women, that works for other women as well, that works for black and brown people, even that is safe for white men. And we need to listen to what they're actually fighting for. They support this.
Can I just ask, if somebody refers to you as a lady, you wouldn't be offended, would you?
Depends the context. I mean, sometimes I experience regularly someone whistling at me on the street and saying it purposefully in a patronising way, that I find offending. Some other times, someone's saying it in a more acceptable way. But I think we need to remember, this is a good victory. At the same time, trans women, like me, are locked up in male prisons. I regularly face street violence. I narrowly escaped being badly beaten up on Kilburn High Road the other month. That's similar for queer folks as well. There's lots of discrimination in the NHS all the time. And I already talked about all the issues that workers face. These things are partly about austerity, they're partly about state violence, they're partly about the cuts. We need to be working together and taking inspiration from folks like lesbians and gays support the minors in the 80s, and now lesbians, gays support the migrants, how we can come together to fight for actually transport system, an economy, a society that works for all of us, that doesn't exclude.